Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of the Nail Files. My name is Elena and I love to paint press on nails. I paint them for myself and I paint them for my daughter. Um, I get inspiration from Pinterest, so I will link the put a link where I was found the Pinterest link. My gosh, I'm sorry. Um, but I'll put a link down below to the Pinterest board where I found them. Bear with me. It's my first video, so I'm really sorry. But today we're going to talk about the 1904 human zoo. I mean, let's just call it what it is. It was a human zoo. So it was at the World's Fair. Americans had become absolutely fascinated by the natives of mainly the Philippines, but really any natives. Um, After the Philippine American War ended in 1902, so we had the newly acquired territory. There were a lot of anthropological exhibits that had been created to showcase what life was like in the Philippines. But the shitty part is this led to the bright idea of actually putting the people from these tribes on display for the Americans to come and look at. So this display was at the St. Louis World's Fair, and the U.S. government spent over $1.5 million to transport over 1,000 Filipinos and other indigenous people, including, I'm going to say it wrong and I apologize, but the Mabuti tribe in Central Africa and the Anu people from Japan. So we transported these people to the World's Fair, which formed the largest human zoo in world's history. A human zoo. Okay, so the zoo is one of my favorite places to go, but I go to a natural habitat zoo, so the animals aren't like being abused. And I mean, I get they should be in the wild, but some of them can't be. Um, but we put people, like we put humans on display. So, Angela Da Silva is a local history expert, and they said that this display was actually laid out in a hierarchy from the most primitive tribe to the most advanced tribe. The Philippine Village was one of the most popular attractions at the fair. It consisted of 40 different tribes, 6 Philippine villages. So it was, okay, the name was the Philippine Village, but it actually held 6 Philippine villages, if that makes sense. Um, 20,000 exhibits, 130 buildings, and 725 native soldiers. Like, they spent money to build this exhibit. The most interest was on the Igorot village. I'm trying, I'm sorry. This tribe was referred to as the most, quote, primitive and uncivilized by an anthropologist named Albert Jinks. I would call him Albert Jerks, but whatever. This particular tribe had a custom that just fascinated people. But for ceremonial purposes, this particular tribe would eat dogs. Ancestors of these people state that, like I said, it was ceremonial purposes, but being humans, um, they found that fascinating. So at the fair, this tribe was fed dogs daily, forcing them to butcher them and eat them on a daily basis, which is just wrong. Y'all, I mean, the whole situation is just it's just screwed up. Um, Many exhibit goers were just also freaking out, just clutching their pearls at the fact that the traditional clothing of these people were those G-string coverings. The their booties are hanging out of the back, and they've got the long panel in the front to cover their front bits. You've seen, I'm sure, pictures of what I'm talking about. But people were just like, "Oh my God, the indecency of it." It was not indecent to the tribes. I mean, that's their clothes. But anyway, the American people were just having fits over it. So President Roosevelt actually wondered if maybe we were exploiting savagery to, as he said, the detriment of civilization. Like, oh no, these people are going to make us just lose our how civilized we are. I mean, we've put people on display in a zoo, but yeah, we're totally civilized. So anyway, he ordered a brief halt to the tribes actually wearing their traditional coverings and required them to wear shorts until the uproar passed. So, um, all of these displays, these just disgusting displays, just reinforced racist and inaccurate stereotypes about indigenous people. We use them to prove that colonizing these places was necessary. Like, we just convinced everybody in America that we need to colonize these people because we need to teach them how to become civilized. Bonus points that by colonizing these places, we gained access to the Pacific for export and military. Because but yeah, we're totally doing it for the benefit of these other people, right? It's for their benefit, not us. No, no, not us. Um, it's reported that abuse, of course, no surprise, was happening at the fair. Visitors would throw rocks, garbage, and even urine at the people inside of the exhibits, but I mean, let's be real, it's just enclosures. Um, Many people died at the fair. I mean, there were 17 Filipino and indigenous people who died at the St. Louis World's Fair. Um, According to Jose de Furman's 1904 World's Fair, the Filipino Experience, the fair officials anticipated that there would be loss of life, and they actually had prepared grave sites at two St. Louis cemeteries for the indigenous people before their arrival to the city. Um, there was an 18-year-old woman named Mora. She died of pneumonia on April 15th of 1904. Pneumonia was the most common cause of death for the people. It was unseasonably cold for Missouri, and there was snow. And some of these people, like Mora, for example, she was from the coldest part of the Philippines. She was from the north, but it was so she was used to some of them were used to the cold, but it was just cold, and they were locked in a train without the proper clothing or preparation for the freezing cold. Um, Ibe, so I'm gonna say it so wrong, you guys, but another young man died March 28th of 1904 from pneumonia. He was a young man from Mindoro. He was 22-year-old that was actually abducted from his village along with four other men from his tribe. A young man, Bagobo man, they think he was around 18 years old, named Egid. He died July 6th of 1904 from smallpox. Antonio Estadio died February 24th of 1904. He was actually the first resident of the Philippine Village who died in St. Louis. He was one of two teachers that were sent to the fair to teach in the school in the Philippine Village. So he spent 2 weeks in the hospital, but died ultimately of pneumonia. And he actually taught in Manila before he was brought to St. Louis. Um, a 21-year-old soldier of the Philippines, Salvador Carrasco, died August 25th of 1904. He was said to have been very homesick. I'm sure a lot of these people were very homesick. I mean, most of them came unwillingly to participate in this. There were a few, I'm not sure how many, and even if it's the truth, but there were a few who were said to have participated willingly, but I don't know, that's questionable. But that's just my opinion, y'all. So when these people died, they were buried in unmarked graves, and their tribes were not allowed to have traditional funerals because it was uncivilized. So they were forced to have Christian burials instead. So we took away everything, including the right to bury them, send them off in their way to honor them how they normally would. We took everything. That was so. There are researchers now who are trying to figure out who is in what grave and get the graves marked. Some of the people were sent home, a few, not many. Some of them had only their bodies buried in the unmarked graves, and their brains were sent to, uh, like the Smithsonian for research. Um, it's just, ugh. But yeah. So the one young man I'm talking about that was reported to have participated willingly. His name was Antero. He was a 12-year-old boy. Um, he was actually sent with a group of tribal chiefs to the White House to meet President Roosevelt. And you guys, the newspapers ran the headlines, "Savages Visit the White House." And instead of letting them wear their traditional clothing, we fancied them up a little bit and made them wear silk coverings. So yeah, have you guys ever heard of the 1904 World's Fair Human Zoo? I know I never learned about it until recently. They did not teach it when I was in school. But just y'all, humans are disgusting sometimes. Um anyway, that's the 1904 World's Fair of St. Louis with the Human Zoo exhibit. Like I said, this was my first visit, so I was really nervous, but I hope you guys enjoyed it and will come back for more. Here's the finished nails. I think they're really cute, little patchwork nails, but I'll see you guys next time. Bye.